The young girl was quiet as she sat on the porch with Grandma, watching the sunset. After a while, she turned and asked, "Grandma, do you ever feel like you're not good enough? Like no matter what you do, something about you is just wrong?" Grandma looked at her with understanding eyes. "Oh, my dear, I think everyone feels that way sometimes. But you know, that reminds me of a story I once heard about a cracked pot." The girl looked intrigued, tilting her head. "A cracked pot?" "Yes," Grandma said with a knowing smile. "It's an old story, but one I think you'll like. Let me tell you. Once upon a time, there was an old woman who lived in a small village. Every day, she would walk down to the river with 2 large clay pots to collect water. She would hang the pots on either side of a wooden pole, carrying them on her shoulders. One of the pots was perfect, always holding the full amount of water it was meant to carry. But the other pot had a small crack in it. By the time the old woman returned home from the river, the cracked pot had leaked out half of its water along the way. For a long time, the cracked pot felt terrible. It knew it wasn't doing its job properly and felt ashamed that it could only deliver half of what it was supposed to. It compared itself to the perfect pot and felt useless. One day, as the old woman was carrying water back from the river, the cracked pot finally spoke up. "I'm so sorry," the pot said, its voice filled with sadness. "I feel terrible. I only deliver half the water I'm supposed to, while the other pot always gives you the full amount. I feel like I've failed you." The old woman stopped walking and smiled gently. "Have you noticed the flowers growing along the path on your side?" she asked. The pot was silent for a moment, confused. "What do you mean?" The old woman continued walking slowly. "Look down at the ground on your side of the path," she said kindly. As they walked, the pot noticed that indeed, there were beautiful flowers blooming along the side of the path it had traveled. Bright, colorful blossoms filled the ground where its water had dripped out along the way. The old woman smiled softly and said, "I've always known about your crack. In fact, I planted flower seeds along your side of the path, because I knew your water would nourish them. Because of you, I've been able to enjoy these lovely flowers every day. Your imperfection made something beautiful." As Grandma finished the story, the young girl sat in quiet reflection, her eyes wide with realization. So the cracked pot wasn't useless after all? "No, my dear," Grandma replied gently. "Sometimes the things we think are flaws or imperfections can lead to something wonderful." The cracked pot thought it was failing, but it was actually creating beauty all along. It just didn't know. The girl looked down, twiddling her fingers. "I guess, maybe it's the same with people, right? Maybe things we don't like about ourselves can still be good for something?" "Exactly," Grandma said, her voice filled with warmth. "We all have our cracks, our little imperfections. But often, those are the things that make us unique, the things that allow us to bring something special into the world. It's just like the flowers along the path, the world is more beautiful because of our so-called flaws. The girl smiled, feeling a little lighter. I like that, Grandma. Maybe I'm not as broken as I thought. Grandma reached over and patted her hand gently. You're not broken at all, my dear. You're just like that cracked pot, doing more good than you might ever realize. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the young girl sat quietly beside Grandma, the story of the cracked pot filling her with comfort and a new sense of understanding. Let's learn some words from the story. Imperfections. Meaning, flaws, or things that are not perfect or complete. Example, the old pot's imperfection was the crack in its side, which caused water to leak out. Nourish. Meaning, to provide what is needed for growth or health, often used for food or water. Example, the old woman explained that the leaking water from the cracked pot helped to nourish the flowers. Twiddling. Meaning, fidgeting or playing with something nervously or out of boredom. Example, the girl sat twiddling her fingers as she thought about the story.